Good day, everyone. I'm Lee Archinal from Intel 471, and today's Happy Hunting episode is going to focus on a spicy piece of malware known as Black Basta and its tactics, techniques, procedures, and behaviors that are associated with it. MITRE informs us that Black Basta is a piece of ransomware written in C++ that has been offered within the ransomware as a service model since 2022. So Black Basta is a ransomware. Well, some of the attacks that have involved the Black Basta and the groups and affiliates that were a part of this use the ultra evil technique of double extortion. Now, this is where not only do they request payment for a decryption key so that you can decrypt all your encrypted data so you can get back to normal, but then after you pay them for that, they ask for another payment so that they don't leak the data that they exfiltrated from your environment. So all that sensitive stuff that you're trying to get back to, well, they're going to say, hey, pay us so that we keep quiet. Now, the worst part about that is that, are you really going to trust the adversary to delete it? And even if they say they do, can you really confirm it? And that's why it's a really, like I said, a very evil technique that some adversaries have been using in the past. And Black Basta was one of them. So who else can provide us some great information about how we can better prepare ourselves against a Black Basta ransomware attack? Well, look no further than the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. Along with a bunch of other government agencies, they've put together these Stop Ransomware reports that highlight different ransomware groups and different ransomware malware. Skimming through, we can take a look, and if we scroll past, we can get to the bottom where there's a table that tells us about the tools that have been used in Black Basta attacks. If you stop and think for a bit, it's not such a straight shot. It's not the adversary gets access and drops the malware or the ransomware and, everything's encrypted. They have to use some off-the-shelf tools, and they have to use different techniques and procedures and behaviors to get to where they're going, whether that be lateral movement, privilege escalation, or so on. But by letting us know what tools that the adversary is using, that gives us an idea of what the capabilities of these tools are and what we can start to think about. Now, they also provide us a great table of indicators of compromise. Now, whenever it comes to indicators of compromise, these being from May 10th may have already been depleted and expired and may no longer be useful. The reason I say that is that if an adversary is watching open source tools that industry experts are using, like VirusTotal, AnyRun, Joe Sandbox, or all those other publicly available resources that you can use to check for malware or deploy a malware or check to see if this executable you found in your environment is going to trigger any antiviruses, the bad guys are watching that too. So if they do see a bunch of these indicators of compromise are reported on VirusTotal and then they're all of a sudden bad, then they're going to do something about that, and they're going to try and change the hashes of their files so that maybe they'll go undetected. So since the report gave us all this information, how can we get the most value from this? Surprise, it's behaviors. The answer is to focus on the behaviors that are in the report, and you can find that information normally under technical details. Whenever you start seeing MITRE attack for enterprise framework, this is where they're going to start laying that information out. We got initial access, primarily use spear phishing, which is technique 1566. We got ConnectWise vulnerability, so they're letting us know about that. We got discovery and execution. What tools did they use to discover what's inside your environment that they're going to leverage to help them get along? So we can read this report and look at this highlight from the CISA of what they saw and what they reported on. But we can also go back to the MITRE type matrix and take a look there, because they mapped this report directly to the matrix. So let's jump back and see what we can find. One of the behaviors that I noticed was discovery. So discovery is a tactic, so it's a higher level general term. But if we take a look at the behaviors that are under the Black Basta MITRE attack software page, we can see that they have file and directory discovery. If we right-click that and jump to a new tab, we'll find some more information about it. Adversaries may enumerate files and directories or may search in specific locations. Now, this is just one part of it. And if we look at the examples, we see dir, tree, ls, find, locate. Scroll down, we see a lot more specific ways that they've used file discovery. Or we can kind of take another step back and just jump to the tactic level. By right-clicking and jumping to the discovery page, now we can see all the goals that adversaries are trying to accomplish when they're using discovery. We have account discovery, application window, browser information, all these different techniques to use for discovery. So instead of just looking for file and directory discovery, because if the adversary is doing that, they're probably doing a lot of other things, like looking at the users in your environment, looking at the shares in your environment, where's your DC, what's a ping, can they reach out, can they look at different ports, so on. There's so many things that they can do. Well, how can we get the upper hand on this, and how can we improve this? Well, let's find a Hunter Platform Community Edition Hunt Package that will help us out. Coming straight to the Hunter platform, if we jump in and type in Black Basta, because that's what we're looking for, I'm going to look at the threat profile, because I want to focus directly on Black Basta. Come here, we see Black Basta ransomware, scroll down, get a bunch of good information about it, but what I'm really worried about and looking for is the related hunt packages. So we see RDP enabled, and this is the one I was looking for, excessive Windows discovery and execution of processes, potential malware installation. Now, why are we focusing on this, and what does it do for us? Well, go to the description, figure it out. This package utilizes a list of commonly abused living off LAN binaries. Okay, cool. Well, what binaries are those? If we scroll down, we can see the query logic, and now we see all the binaries that we're looking for. Because what this does is this looks for a bunch of these living off LAN binaries executing in a short amount of time. Because if the adversary is in your environment, their goal is to learn your environment as fast as possible. So they can exfil that information, or if they're reading it in real time, they can read that information and get a better idea of what to do next. So let's take a look and see what we can find whenever it comes to looking at this data and looking at what that activity might look like. So as usual, I have my excessive Windows discovery and execution processes, potential malware installation, the Splunk endpoint sysmon version. I'm going to copy paste that. I'm going to jump into Splunk and we're going to look at the data and have some fun. So here we are. We have the query translated to the tool that we're using, which is Splunk, and we see that we have results. But now let's take a look at what's really going on. Now, as we scroll down, and now that we have data, the best thing I like to encourage everyone to do is to read the data first. So we see ipconfig, we see RAS server, SE, schedule tasks.exe, things that start to really stick. As we scroll down, we see some more of these living off LAN binaries being used. But a lot of them, like this chunk, for example, netstack, ping, tracer, ipconfig, 4 of those can really be used to learn your environment. And this Windows event utility at the end could be used really to damage your environment and clear logs or change the configuration of your environment, so if it's logging or not. Did they clear the logs or not? And once you see this activity, this might give you the indication that something is really going on, because if these are executing in quick succession, then it's probably a script, it may be a bat file, it may be the malware that's actually running. But in this case, if we can capture the discovery activity that's happening, then normally that's at the very beginning of an attack, and that gives us a big, big advantage of winning that war, or at least finding the maliciousness and getting that out of our environment quicker. Well, all good things must come to an end. But thank you all for joining today's Happy Hunting episode. I hope this brief exploration into the Black Basta malware has not only deepened your understanding of this threat, but also provided you with valuable tools for a proactive defense, or maybe help you mature in that threat hunting capability. Don't forget to register for your free Hunter account today so that you can stay ahead in your threat hunting journey. With your free account, you can access the excessive Windows discovery and execution processes, potential malware installation. I know it's a mouthful, but you can access that hunt package and start identifying Black Basta in your environment, or any other threat that's trying to discover what's in your environment. For more insights and updates, be sure to catch our next episode. Stay safe, and as always, happy hunting.